everybody else. I really feel honored that you would ask me to speak tonight, and I feel like there was gosh, there's so many things I want to share with you guys, but I probably should clear up a little bit about what's on my bio and the picture of me and the horse. So I'll do that. First of all, I did come to the Dharma through an accident, a climbing accident, where I was injured pretty badly and mostly unable to walk very well. I had a brain injury and fractured a vertebrae in my neck and broke ribs and did other things. And so it was about a 3 or 4 month ordeal to just get up on my feet so I could walk around the block. And during that process, there was a lot of stress and anxiety and so on. And but when I started to get better, my physician said, "Why don't you get into yoga or meditation or something? You get your blood pressure down and help your body heal." So I did. I joined a yoga class up in Auburn, about 20 minutes away, and any good yoga center would have a meditation group. So I joined this group that was meditation and yoga. There was only 3 guys in it, and a guy named Dave Judd taught the class. And Dave, Dorrance knows Dave. He was also volunteering at Folsom, and that was a really wonderful surprise to get that I wasn't my thoughts, to find out that I kind of thought, I think like a lot of people who don't bump into meditation, they think who they are is what they're thinking at the time, so the ego loves that. And so unfortunately it came later. Dave invited me to go into Folsom. I think it was 2013 or 2014, and I did as a visitor, and I was hooked the first time I went in, and I just knew that this is what I wanted, was to be with a group of men who were serious about their enlightenment, who wanted to improve their lives. I should say men and women, because we had Patricia and KC were 2 of the 5 volunteers, and the other volunteer was Roland, and then Alex, and all of them were extremely well versed in the Dharma, and I felt like a neophyte, but they were very kind and mentoring me, and eventually invited me to do Dharma talks. And so, what they say, the best way to teach is to learn. And excuse me just one second. I have someone at the door. So so I would really study before I would prepare for a talk, and learn a lot. So anyway, that's enough about me. And what I want to talk to you about tonight is financial literacy. And you may think, well, that's kind of odd, but I've been teaching a class first at Anti-Recidivism Coalition and now at Folsom, called Mindful Money Management. And it's a class that I created myself out of my relationship with the Dharma. And it happens to be 8 sessions long, and that's no accident. There are 8 elements to the Eightfold Path. And I don't know, this was about 3 years ago, I think it was in 2020 when I started doing this. I noticed that a lot of suffering, money is the source of a lot of suffering. And especially one of my heroes, who I'll tell you about a little bit, Curtis Carroll, who's a inmate now at Pelican Bay. He was at San Quentin, but he came into San Quentin as an 18-year-old and couldn't read or write. And he learned to read and write by studying the financial section of probably the Wall Street Journal or the San Francisco Chronicle or whatever. But anyway, he got really hooked on learning to invest, and in the process, he's become quite famous. And he's still in prison, unfortunately, but he teaches financial literacy in prison, and he says 70% of crime is caused around the suffering around money. And I think, all of us can relate to a certain amount of suffering when it comes to money, especially not having enough money. But, when you look at people who have a lot of money, they are also, a lot of very wealthy people are very miserable. You might know somebody like that. But so it goes either way. And the whole idea, I began to realize that when I plugged into the right speech or skillful speech about money, skillful attitudes about my livelihood, and so on, as I went through the Eightfold Path, there'd be a real asset to be able to teach this to people who were incarcerated or who had just recently got out. So I designed my course around the Eightfold Path, but I didn't want it to be, I couldn't really make it a Buddhist thing, so it's mostly secular. I do acknowledge Buddha as the source of it, and I just say, I know the Buddha wouldn't mind if we borrowed these concepts. But basically, the 8 sessions are spent mostly on the nuts and bolts of financial literacy, which would include budgeting, investing, saving, how to make decisions about credit management, how to make decisions about insurance, and so on and so forth. And we spend a lot of time on budgeting, and the kingpin of the budget is saving as much as you can and paying yourself first. And my recommendation is $150 a month. And I'll show you why in a minute, but we spend 2 sessions on budgeting, and I have the participants make out a budget of making $15 an hour and then working part-time for $15 an hour. And it's because that's likely what they might encounter when they get out. And the guys really get into it. And when I show them that every single decision that they make should be focused and centered around that $150 a month that you're putting into your IRA, they go, oh yeah, I can do this. I can't rent an apartment for $1,400 a month. I've got to get some roommates and do $800 a month or something like that. My food, I can't go out for eating restaurant meals 2 or 3 times a day. I've got to pack my lunch when I go to work, and so on. So I let the guys come up with solutions to the problem. What I've had some really interesting. I'm going to do a screen share. Can I do that or not? It says disabled, host disabled, participant screen sharing. That's okay. I'll tell you about it. Okay. What I show the guys is 3 graphs, and if you get out of prison when you're 50 years old and you have 10 years to work and you save $150 a month for 10 years, you'll have $29,000 at the end of that 10 years. And 18,000 of it is your own money. The rest is interest that you've earned in the stock market or in bonds or savings or whatever. If a guy gets out when he's 40 and has 20 years to save, he's going to have $90,000 at the end of that 20 years with 150 a month. And only 36,000 of it will have been his own principal. Now, if you get out at age 30 and you've got 30 years to save at 150 a month, you're going to have $221,000, and only 54,000 of that is money that you put into it. So I show them the value of long-term saving and compound interest and how it works. And I think it gives guys hope. And I had one guy ask me, who was in the ARC course, he'd been in for 40 years, and he got out and said, Rich, if I had saved $100 a month, which is about what I have earned, could have earned, if I saved $100 a month for 40 years, what would I have when I got out? And I said, well, you would have had about $325,000 instead of that $200 check that you got at the gate when you left. He said, whoa, so my hope is to inspire men who are inside to start saving and investing, and use their meager earnings to do so, because it will add up. I also encourage them to influence their family members and their kids, and to get them going on financial literacy. It's a pretty well-known fact that if you can, even if you're incarcerated, if you can talk to your kid and say, hey, if you start saving 150 a month when you're 19 and you stop saving when you're 27, kind of literacy I like to promote and help people to learn. There's a fellow, how much time do I have left, Newt?
You have time. You have
okay.
A minute.
There's a guy by the name of Curtis Carroll. I've mentioned him earlier. And go on YouTube and look this guy up, if you will, and watch a couple of his videos. He's remarkable. I'll type in his name here. They call him Curtis Wall Street Carroll, and he did a TED Talk that talked about his experience, and how he learned to read and how he learned to invest and so on. And it's really inspiring. He is truly one of my heroes. And I've written him. He's got an organization while in prison. I've written him and asked him if there's some way I can contribute to it, or learn, or get his curriculum, or get what he's teaching into Folsom and collaborate with him in some way. Because I think just the feedback I'm getting from guys. Oh, by the way, I put the word out in my Sangha a couple of months ago that I was going to do this class. I didn't want to get in. I didn't want to interrupt Sangha with it, but I just said, if anybody in Sangha wants to do this class, let me know. So 6 guys signed up, and one of the guys, when Lawrence, he said, well, I'm going to get some other guys, and he brought in 12 other guys that are in 3 different buildings. So I've got 19 guys, 18 guys, one was transferred, doing a financial literacy course, and at least half of them are doing a great job of the homework and really involved in it. And I'm not being easy on them with the homework. I'm making them think. And so I'm going to give them a certificate of completion if they do 80% of the homework, and they don't have to get the answers right. They just have to attempt it. And but the thing that I'm really promoting is to keep a personal journal, and part of the homework is to reflect on one of the elements of the Eightfold Path after each session. So I give them some questions to think about, like, how do you speak about money to others and to yourself? What's your self-talk about money? Most people are pretty negative. If you're incarcerated, you're pretty negative about money. And I try to, and I don't say this is right or wrong. I try to encourage them to see that it's either skillful or not skillful. It either promotes a sense of peace and happiness, or it does not, and that you have a choice. And so I go through each one of the Eightfold Path, and like number 4, I just turned in session 4. It was, what does it mean to be mindful about money? And then I asked some questions about what is mindfulness about money. And so I haven't received the homework back from that yet, but I expect that I will when I go back Tuesday. But anyway, I'm very excited about this. Folsom has agreed to give me a classroom if they get one open. So I'd rather teach this in the classroom than as a correspondence course. And my hope is to just get lots of people doing this. And by the way, I'm looking for volunteers who have somewhat of a Buddhist background or the Enlightenment background, who would like to, and maybe an interest in finance. I'm going to get a book published, and even if I have to self-publish it, and have it be something that guys can go through and learn. So anyway, that's what I'm all about. You know, I love doing this. I love being here with y'all and going into Folsom every Tuesday, excuse me. And yeah, so about my horse. I didn't tell you about my horse. So so after my accident rock climbing, I recovered. My girlfriend, who was still my girlfriend, rides horses, and I said, you know, I think I'll start riding horses. And I got hooked with horses as much as I did with participating in Song of Folsom. So that's why I have a picture of my horse up there. So anyway, that's it. And thank you very much for allowing me the time to speak.